Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news from Congressman McCarthy, an important speaker at Friday's Republican Women's Luncheon, yesterday's City Council meeting, today's KZGN Talking Points editorial, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News Crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitnick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. We open tonight with a report from Congressman McCarthy's office. It's titled, Congress Will Not Accept a Bad Deal. Congressman Kevin McCarthy released the following statement on the proposed nuclear agreement with Iran. He said, "As I and the President have said before, no deal that allows Iran to get nuclear weapons is acceptable. A nuclear Iran would put America and our allies at grave risk. Congress intends to thoroughly review this deal as provided in the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act. The details are critical to understanding what concessions this administration has made and how damaging they will be to U.S. national security interests around the world. Nothing in the deal announced today eliminates Iran's ability to eventually become a nuclear threshold power. It just delays the day and rewards the Iranians with billions of dollars in sanctions relief until that day comes. This administration has said repeatedly that no deal is better than a bad deal. Now they must be held accountable. We already know that as a result of this deal, the U.S. and our allies will be forced to confront a richer, more resilient Iran that will continue its quest for regional hegemony. Congress must and will take time to properly review this deal, but early reports are gravely discouraging." In big news from the Ridgecrest Republican women, KZGN field reporter Tanya Pyle submits this story. Ridgecrest Republican Women Federated will hold its luncheon on Friday, July 17th, in the banquet room of the Clarion Inn at 901 North China Lake Boulevard at noon. Their guest speaker will be George Runner, member and vice chair of the California Board of Equalization. Elected in November 2010 and re-elected in 2014, George Runner represents more than 9 million Californians as a member of the State Board of Equalization. He is a leading advocate for California taxpayers opposing what destroys jobs. In January 2015, his colleagues chose him to serve as the board's vice chair. During his time on the board, Runner has worked to improve California's tax policies and practices and to create and retain more private sector jobs in our state. Prior to his election to the board, Runner served 12 years in the State Assembly. Mr. Runner and his wife, Senator Sharon Runner, are co-authors of Jessica Law, which passed by more than 70% of California voters in November 2006. He also authored the well-known California Amber Alert, which has resulted in more than 200 successful reunions of children with their parents, as well as California's Blue Alert, which uses Amber Alert technology when a peace officer has been killed, seriously wounded, or assaulted with a deadly weapon, and the suspect has fled the scene. The luncheon is open to the public. The cost of the luncheon is $15 and reservations are required. Please make your reservation today by calling 760-446-0815. Again, a large crowd is expected for this lunch, so make your reservation now. Now here's what happened at last night's City Council meeting. At the council meeting, they received a presentation by Warren Cox updating the council regarding the median art project on North China Lake Boulevard. In 2014, Caltrans announced plans to construct raised medians on North China Lake Boulevard. Caltrans told the city staff that while they did not intend to place artwork in the medians, the state would work with the city to ensure that monuments could occur. In order to ensure a wide spectrum of community input, last February, the Planning Commission established the Median Art Committee to recommend policies and procedures for the placement of artwork within the city's medians. To date, the Median Art Committee has accomplished the following. They've established the petroglyphic theme, identified 18 monument art sites within the Caltrans right-of-way, approved a median art application, review, and approval process, approved a median art application form, and encouraged businesses, organizations, and individuals to donate artwork. So far, 10 art sites have been reserved. Next on the agenda, they received a presentation by Ridgecrest Parks and Recreation Supervisor Jason Patton regarding park irrigation. This is when the mayor asked to be on the agenda to help answer questions she and the council get concerning water conservation and use by the city parks. From the consent calendar, they approved a resolution authorizing the acceptance of an off-highway vehicle grant. The Ridgecrest Police Department has been awarded grant funding from the California State Parks Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation Grant Program for this project year. This off-highway vehicle grant program will provide funding to upgrade and maintain our current OHV equipment that are used for enforcement. The grant award will provide funding in the amount of about $20,000 with an in-kind match of $7,000. The police department has a plan to meet this in-kind funding requirement through the use of police volunteers and reserve officers through OHV deployments and events. Next, the Council approved a resolution authorizing application for and acceptance of the State of California Office of Traffic Safety STEP grant. The State Office of Traffic Safety is offering local law enforcement agencies overtime grants to conduct selective traffic enforcement programs within the city of Ridgecrest during fiscal year 2016. The period begins October 1st and ends next September. This is a reimbursement grant that requires no matching funds. The STEP program provides funding on an overtime basis to employ enforcement and innovative strategies to reduce persons killed and injured in traffic collisions. The funded strategies include DUI, driver's license checkpoints, DUI roving saturation patrols, a hot sheet program to notify patrol and traffic officers to be on the lookout for identified repeat DUI offenders with suspended or revoked licenses as a result of DUI convictions, special enforcement operations which target red light runners, motorcycle enforcement operations, distracted driving operations like cell phones, traffic enforcement operations at intersections with disproportionate numbers of traffic crashes. This grant provides funds for both overtime enforcement and for the purchase of traffic enforcement equipment. Approximate revenue to the city will be about $83,000. Next, they approved a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of agreement with Sierra Sands Unified School District for law enforcement services, otherwise known as the School Resource Officer Program. For several years, the Ridgecrest Police Department has been providing law enforcement services to the Sierra Sands Unified School District School Resource Officer Program. Each year, the memorandum of agreement for this program is reviewed and approved by the governing bodies. The agreement for this school year remains unchanged from the previous year. The agreement approves a partnership for the city to provide the service. The school district pays the city 50% of the total cost to provide this support. Then the council approved a response letter regarding a grand jury report received on May 27th. Tomorrow, we'll cover a couple more items from the last night's meeting. Stay tuned for today's KZGN Talking Points editorial when we come back. Welcome back. Now it's time for the 59th KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Here's today's topic. Are you ready to have chickens in your neighbor's yard? Well, as I reported yesterday, a subcommittee for the Ridgecrest Planning Commission met at City Hall. The committee was formed as a result of a recent Planning Commission meeting where it was brought up about allowing chickens in residential zones of the city. It seems that the current municipal code is lacking in good definition whether chickens are allowed or not. However, let there be no misunderstanding, currently chickens are not allowed in the city. Anyway, the Planning Commission started discussion on the item. After some lengthy discussion, it was determined what had been presented by the staff for the Planning Commission consideration was not ready for a decision. They decided to establish a subcommittee to try and refine the document for the proposed change to allow municipal code to allow chickens. The meeting was dominated by people wanting to change to allow chickens. A couple people from the public were very vocal against the idea. The major players in pushing the change appear to be Councilman Jim Sanders and Chairman of the Planning Commission Matthew Baldwin. It has to be mentioned that the actual process is as follows. Once they have a document to put in for consideration, the full Planning Commission will hear the item. After receiving public comment, they will decide to either approve the change or not approve the change. If they approve it, then it goes to the City Council for consideration. The City Council will then hold public meetings to consider approving it. The real thorn in this proposal seems to be twofold. One, chickens in very small residential lots, 6,000 square feet. Second, what about the potential for health and safety code violations? Proponents feel that the proposed ordinance provides adequate protections against potential problems. I talked to one opponent and he said that he would be getting petition signatures of opposition to this idea. I should mention that this proposed new ordinance also sets new standards of allowed pets and other indoor animals. So it's not just about chickens, but it seems the chicken part is the most controversial part. My opinion is that this is a ridiculous idea. And there was one member of the public that attended the meeting that was very upset with the prospect that he could wind up with chickens next to his fence. He was also concerned that the committee was holding a meeting at a time when working folks could not attend. Starting the meeting at 5 p.m. when the majority of working people were just getting off work was not right. He envisions noise problems and, worse yet, health and safety problems. The ordinance addresses that the chickens will be limited to 2 chickens unless you demonstrate you can take good care of chickens, wherein then you can apply for a permit to have 2 more chickens. It allows chickens right up to a neighbor's property line. It even allows chickens in the smallest of residential lots, 6,000 square foot. This is a lot that could be only 50 feet wide. The opponent almost yelled, "If you want chickens, move into the county." I moved into the city a few years ago to get away from farm animals that stink terrible. The city is no place for farm animals. Animal control officers attending the committee meeting stated they get about 5 complaints per month concerning chickens in residential neighborhoods. Most complaints have to do with noise and health and safety issues. As I was a volunteer code enforcement officer for about 2 years, I can support complaints about chickens. I handled many myself, and I also saw most complaints concern noise and health code concerns, smell from the yard next door. The worst time for complaints were during the summer when chicken feces was allowed to rot in the hot sun. This really does smell. People on the opposite side of the fence complained they couldn't even sit out at night because of the stink. The proponents of allowing chickens argue that if people don't take care of the smell and the noise, then just cite them. Well, why do we want to create a problem for the animal shelter officers and put neighbors against neighbors? It is generally under control now. Why do we want to invite more people to have chickens? I have to say I agree with the loudest opponent last night. "This is nonsense. Stop this now," he said. I don't want to have chickens on the other side of my fence. I don't want to have to call in and complain about my neighbors. This can create friction between neighbors where there was none before. Animal control officers also were concerned about the possible extra effort they would have to expend enforcing the chicken ordinance. I believe allowing chickens onto small 6,000 square foot residential lots is not appropriate. At least require them to only be allowed on lots of 40,000 square feet or larger. 40,000 square feet is about an acre. Anything smaller is begging for problems with neighbors. There is no way they can draft a law covering all the possible problems that this new allowance could create. And once it is okay to have chickens, it would be very hard to go back and ban those chickens when the council realizes they made a big mistake. Again, be clear, right now chickens are not allowed in the city. This will change that and even allow chickens into even the smallest residential lots. A change like this reeks of unintended consequences and problems. Councilman Sanders seems to think this is a property rights issue. Well, look at what we just went through with the Howard properties out in Ridgecrest Heights. One person's rights does not trump another person's rights. People have a right in a residential neighborhood to use their property without animal noise and stink coming from the neighbor's yard. Good neighbors would not subject their neighbors to this nonsense. Let's see. What was that rule my parents taught me? Oh yeah. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love and respect your neighbor. So stay tuned. I'll let you know when this item goes back to the Planning Commission for consideration. And if you don't like this change, start letting the mayor and council and the planning commissioners know now. In conclusion, I'm against farm animals in residential zones in the city. If you want to run a business, you set up in a commercial zone. In the same spirit, if you want to raise farm animals, do it in a zone that allows it. Don't change things to suit you that will infringe on your neighbor's rights to enjoy their properties. They aren't infringing on your rights for peaceful enjoyment of your property. Why infringe on their same rights? I'm Tom Whitnick, and that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any comments about this editorial or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email them to info@kzgn.net. Stay tuned for weather and sports when we come back. Hey Keith, how's the weather doing?
Thank you, Tom. We still have some wet weather coming towards us, but first, the National Weather Service is forecasting a risk of severe thunderstorms across parts of the Midwest from southeastern Iowa and northeastern Missouri across western and central Illinois. Temperatures across the nation: Massachusetts came in at 67, Georgia 82, Ohio 72, Colorado 76, Utah 75, Arizona 90, and Los Angeles at 68. For our forecast here in the IWV, tonight will be clear with a low around 72, south-southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Friday will be sunny and hot with a high near 102, southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 20. Friday night will be mostly clear with a low around 73, breezy with a west-southwest wind 15 to 20 miles per hour. And on Saturday, 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms, otherwise partially sunny with a high near 98. South-southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Saturday night, 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy with a low around 74. Southwest wind 5 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 20. On Sunday, 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly cloudy with a high near 96. Calm wind east-southeast 5 miles per hour. And that is a look at your forecast. Now back to Tom and the rest of your KZGN News.
Thanks Keith. Let's go to Tom Heck for sports.
Well, Major League All-Star game last night in Cincinnati at the Great American Ballpark. 6-3 the final score. The American League wins again. Mike Trout, a home run. In fact, the fourth pitch of the ball game, he hit a home run. Mike Trout, last year, the MVP, and Mike Trout just keeps on going. Mike Trout and Luis Pujols lead baseball in home runs this season. Pujols with 26 and Trout with 25. The Angels are in first place because of those two gentlemen right there. Well, before the game, they honored four great Cincinnati Reds. For those that are a little bit younger, back in the day, that was called the Big Red Machine, and the Reds basically dominated the 70s for quite a while, both offensively and also had some great defensive folks out there. But last night, Johnny Bench, who was a magnificent catcher with a shotgun arm, Joe Morgan, who played second base through a couple of championship seasons, Barry Larkin, their great shortstop who had great range and a great arm, also a very, very good hitter, and then Pete Rose. Well, Pete Rose was introduced last, and the crowd went crazy. A standing ovation for Pete Rose. Charlie Hustle, they still love him in Cincinnati, and doggone, I hope someday he gets himself in the Hall of Fame. But we'll have to see about that. And it was Pete Rose that the older fans in Cincinnati remembered from the 1970 All-Star Game. That game was played at Riverfront Stadium, the brand new Riverfront Stadium. And in that game, Pete Rose scored the winning run. Not only did he score the winning run, but he ran over catcher Ray Fosse, who played for the Cleveland Indians then. And Fosse admittedly was never the same after that physically. Ray Fosse, now a broadcaster with the Oakland Athletics. But that play, and you've probably seen it before on TV, will probably, as I mentioned the other day, live forever as one of the great memories of baseball's Midsummer Classic. Now, the reason that this game is more important than yesteryear is the advantage now for home field goes to the American League. And if it goes 7 games, that's a very, I think, big advantage this day and age. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball teams. They won't play again till Friday, extended All-Star break. And when the Angels start again, they'll play Boston 3 games, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Big A. The Angels right now 8 games over 500. They've been playing very good baseball. They've won their last 9 of 12 ball games. The Angels have a half-game lead over the Houston Astros, who are really falling apart right now. They just don't have enough offense, and they lost one of their better hitters in George Springer, their leadoff hitter, so they're at a definite disadvantage. But give Houston a lot of credit. A lot of young guys on that team. They play hard, and you got to love them. after all the years that they have had in the cellar. All right, locally, Burroughs High School football just around the corner. Burroughs will open up on August 28th. That's a Friday night against Palmdale over at Palmdale. Now, Burroughs has started their season as far as their eligible season. They just got off their dead period, and they're starting a passing league on weekends down the Riverside area. Todd Mather trying to get the troops ready to go for what I think is going to be a very good season this year. Tomorrow on our newscast, we will have the complete Burroughs schedule. We'll take some time since there's no Major League Baseball to talk about tomorrow, and we'll go over the 10-game schedule they have. All right, COSO has a basketball camp next week. If you're interested in that, it's July 20 through 24, Monday through Friday. Starts at 8:30, goes to 1. You can register first day. Just show up at 8 o'clock up at the college gymnasium. For information, you can call 760-384-6384. I am Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Coming up next, Ridgecrest Talk. And now a video of chickens. This could come to a neighbor near you.